Hi everyone, how's it going? How's your weekend? What you been up to? Have you enjoyed yourselves? Selby, you were ridiculously quick joining this stream. You were online before I'd barely had chance to sit back down at my desk. How's it going? Hope you're well, my man. How's your weekend? You enjoying the long one here in the UK? I was waiting, thank you, I appreciate it. It can all be a bit of a slow start on Twitch, so yeah, it's always nice to have somebody waiting. Thank you. Let's get some background music going. Now we know what we're doing with these just chatting streams. All right, Snuffle, how's it going? How's your weekend been? You been up to much apart from lurking in the woods? Then off to Pleasure Eats tomorrow. Nice. I must admit, Selby, that was on my potential list because I got Dylan on my own tomorrow, and he's being a rascal at the minute, as 3-year-olds can be, and I'm not sure I can tolerate a third day stuck in the house. So we might be heading to Yarmouth, or assuming you're talking about the Yarmouth one and not the Blackpool one. I'll try and make the day go a little bit quicker tomorrow. It's nice to know you're still visiting that dodgy place in the woods, Snuffle. You know, whatever gets you through the day. So yeah, how's it been, guys? It doesn't feel like a Sunday. I don't know, because I've had a bit of a messed up week work wise, and then obviously we've got the bank holiday here in the UK. But yeah, it felt like a bit of a It doesn't feel like Sunday, weirdly. So what's everyone done today? So if you're yeah, cheers. So yeah, because I'm terrible, by the way, with people in the real world. I spent the last 2 years stuck at this desk doing all of my work. I'm like slightly apprehensive about all these. I've got to start going to like conferences and stuff soon, stuff that I'd normally talk at like from behind the screen in person, and I'm really worried because I've built up some like amazing friendships the last couple of years in the whole advocacy space, but from here at home, slightly worried that I'm just going to walk past people in person and not recognise them. So a little bit yeah, worrying. What's going on with this cable? I've got a label up here, slightly off-putting. These headphones are wireless, but I've never dared actually use them wireless yet. I need to sort that out at some point. So yeah, basically tonight, guys, if you're brand new here, this is the Chronic Pain Club. It's a just chatting stream, so we'll be here for a couple of hours talking about anything chronic illness related. Basically, we're trying to do something a bit different here on Twitch. So once a week, we now dedicate some time to just talk about invisible illness, chronic illness, arthritis, psoriatic disease, and anything else men's mental health is obviously another one that I'm quite hot on and have a lot of experience. So yeah, essentially we are here to answer your questions, to listen to your stories, to build a community, more importantly, and to try and create a space on Twitch where people feel safe and a bit of a community to share that stuff, you know. So I realise Facebook groups aren't for everyone. I realise in-person stuff isn't for everyone. We hope by doing this over on Twitch we reach a group of people that maybe we don't find on other social networks or other places. So if you're new here, say hello. It's a completely safe space. Anyone that goes against our little rules and everything, and just a reminder, they're the usual ones, but they're there in the chat, will be kicked for your safety. It's also the reason, if you're watching this and you would like to say hello and you're wondering why you have to go through the little step to verify your phone number with your Twitch account, that's for safety. If you've done that somewhere else for another streamer, you don't have to do that. You should be able to just chat. But if this is your first time here, if you know the whole arthritis chronic illness thing is what's brought you to Twitch, brilliant, because that's amazing. And we've had a couple of people that have like been a bit confused by why they couldn't chat. It's literally just to stop spammers and bots and other things coming straight into chat and upset. And you know, we talk about delicate things here, as you will see. And yeah, you guys obviously, I must admit, it's a lot safer now, and I've got a bit of an audience now. Back in the early days, I was on my own with some of that, but it is nice with you regulars keep coming back and everything. I do feel a lot more secure, shall we say. So yeah, so the theme every week I will try and have a theme as indicated by the show title, the stream title. But ultimately, guys, this is your channel, this is your stream, as we do with the Animal Crossing streams on a Tuesday night. I'm happy for it to go off on tangents, providing it's loosely relevant to our topic here, whichever way you want to use it. So I've made a big thing on this channel that it's growing with the audience. I want you guys to feel like you helped have a say in all of this. So don't be put off by the title, which I'll explain in a little while. If you want to talk about something more specific, if you want to share your story, if you want to reach out and help other people, then please do. Everybody's welcome in that sense. And if you're not aware already, we do have a quickly growing Discord server. Everyone's invited there. You don't have to be a subscriber or anything like that, but essentially that's where we continue the conversation during the week when I'm not offline. And if you are new here, I stream on Tuesday nights where we do an Animal Crossing chilled stream where we're building an island raising awareness of psoriatic disease on behalf of IFPA, the Global Psoriasis Association sort of organisation body, if you like. And then Sunday nights we're here for the chronic pain club. It's been a long day. And basically this is a just chatting stream where we talk about all things invisible illness, disability, chronic pain, etc. Just to try, there isn't that many people doing this on Twitch, so if you found us and that's your thing, then brilliant. If not, stick around, you might learn something. But if you give us a follow, hit the follow button, because we do also stream sort of normally one extra night a week that isn't on the Tuesday, Sunday. It all depends on my childcare and my health and everything else. It tends to be a Wednesday or a Thursday night. So if you hit the follow button, you'll get the notifications, and I'll also put in the Discord server when we're going live, so you'll pick up on those random streams. And this channel is still new. You guys, as you can see, that we've got people here carrying the first sub badge, like next to Snuffles. We're still working towards our first 20 subs, so this very much is a chance for you guys to be here and help shape this from the start. So I really appreciate you getting involved. Say hello if that's your first time here, and if you want to just lurk away and listen and learn or feel like you heard, then just get involved. And thank you, Snuffle, for showing off your first badge. We still have a few of those left, by the way, guys. I don't know how many, probably about 3 or 4, because a lot of our subs so far are gifted subs, which don't qualify for the first badge. But essentially, that is yours forever on this channel. If you lapse your sub, that's absolutely fine. The badge goes away. When you resub to the channel, it comes back again. So thank you for everyone that's got involved so early on in supporting the channel. And just a bit of a sort of overview, in the last week the channel has been supported more than in the first 3 or 4 months that we exist. It's been insane. So everybody that's subbed, gifted subs, special shout out to the likes of Chunky Pup for the gift sub and Selby for the bit cheering and everything. It really helps us massively, guys, and helps us do more and be online more and make better quality streams and keep upgrading stuff. So hopefully you will see the difference as we go through. So yeah, tonight's topic is about chronic illness and mental health and how that impacts the bigger picture of your chronic illness, I suppose. And where this came from is that on my social medias today, I released a video on behalf of IFPA. Basically this year on World Psoriasis Day, which I think is on the 29th of October, I really hope I'm right, I've just had to pull that off the top of my head. The focus is on mental health, and it's something those of you that have been following me for the last couple of years know I've been banging on about for forever, in that it's not just about the pain. So anyone who follows me on Twitter or wherever, you will know that it is that thing I'm constantly saying. It's like, don't ask me about my pain level, ask me about the impact of my pain. Don't ask me about just my rashes from my psoriasis, ask me about how it affects my confidence and my relationships and my employment opportunities, etc. So yeah, so that's the overall topic for tonight. That whole how does my condition and how do your conditions, if that applies, or the people that you support and love, it's beyond that picture of pain and that picture of say it's arthritis, it's not just about sore joints. It's about the mental health impact and how we all struggle with that burden and that weight. So if anyone's got any questions, chuck them in the chat. If anyone wants to share anything, chuck them in the chat. Otherwise, I'll talk about some of my experiences, and then I'll feed off the stuff that you guys put in and get involved with. And yeah, ultimately that, and then it'll just go off and it'll flow in whatever direction you guys wish to take it, essentially. So to get the ball rolling, because these things often work better once I start sharing, because then it makes other people feel more confident to open up. And like I say, this is a safe space. Anyone that jumps in here and is not abiding by that will be promptly removed. And obviously you don't have to divulge anything you're not comfortable with, and you can hide behind your user handle. You don't have to share any real world information and everything else. But basically, the reason I want to talk about this one tonight is about my experiences this week. So I had a really high pain flare at the start of the week. Those of you that were here last Sunday when we were catching up, I can't remember last Sunday if we done Animal Crossing or a Just Chatting stream. I can't remember, so don't quote me on it. But basically, I was saying I was really struggling with pain, but I've jumped online because it's a distraction. It's one of those things where anyone that lives with pain or disability, you will, when things get bad, your instinct is to say, I'm just not going to do anything. I won't go out, I won't do those hobbies, I won't see that friend, I'll cancel that drink at the pub, all them sort of things. Your instinct is to say, I'm just going to close off and I'm not going to find any fun, because you feel flat and everything else. And it's the worst possible thing you can do, like literally the worst possible thing you can do. And I was very much in that place on Sunday, and my pain was really high. And the way I try to explain it, I'm in permanent pain all the time. So I get little peaks and troughs, but it's a very long backstory. Basically, I had a flare in 2019. The arthritis flare was controlled, the active disease died down, but the pain remained. So something to do with pain pathways in the brain that get created when you flare, or you injure yourself. It's the same as if you break your leg. Your pain's in a lot of, your leg's in a lot of pain. You create new neural pathways in the brain, and then when your leg heals, those pain pathways close off and become redundant. But in my case, I was in a flare for 11 months. And I still experience pain in all the joints that are infected, so my feet, my knees, and my back and neck. And it's like the flare never went away. It's the weirdest thing to get your head around, because it feels just like you've got active disease, but I haven't. The scans show it and the tests show it. The only thing is, you have to be extra sensitive to notice when you are actually flaring in those places, because you can get just so used to just palming everything off to this thing. So basically, my pain doesn't change. It's static. It doesn't. It's not fluid like the typical flare remission cycle, unless I get it in another part of my body where it then would present and disappear again. So my pain doesn't get worse. My pain doesn't get worse. It just, my resilience, my ability to cope with it, my patience with it gets worse. I think it was on Sunday, Artemis, because I think we'd done the Just Chatting on Thursday, and then we decided it was going to live here on a Sunday night, so I'm pretty sure that was our last sort of Sunday Animal Crossing stream. And going forward, guys, for anyone who's new here, we stream Animal Crossing, just a chilled, social sort of thing on a Tuesday night from 7 in the UK time. And then Sunday nights is what you're watching here is the sort of Just Chat and Chatty show kind of thing. And going forward, there will be guests on here as well. So anyone that listens to my podcast, you can find a link for it there. Anyone that listens to my podcast and that sort of thing, we will be recording these going forward all on stream, which will give you guys an opportunity to ask questions at the end of the recording and everything else. But yeah, essentially we'll be doing all that stuff live on stream. So what I'm hoping is to line up some guests. I do need to check how Sundays work for our usual sort of guests. Hopefully it's not a problem and they see it as more a sort of like a non-work chill out thing. But if the times don't work, then going forward we can maybe throw in a few extra Chronic Pain Club streams. But yeah, so So the idea is it won't just be me talking, it'll be very much you guys. And also, if you guys want to get involved in Discord, I'm always open to the idea if anybody wants to come on and talk about their situation, I can pull you in that way and we can have those conversations. So and some of them might make them onto my YouTube channel, podcast episode, that sort of thing. So it also helps me. I always have to spin a lot of plates with all of my advocacy stuff. I'm in permanent pain, I get fatigue, etc, etc. So I'm hoping by doing more on stream allows me to sort of record once, share twice, if that makes sense. So we have the conversation, we use it as a podcast, that then goes off as a podcast, and then goes into a video on YouTube, etc, etc. Because there are different people that consume that stuff in other places, So what's that stuff? Well, this kind of makes sense to me. I had no idea that was a thing. I've been told by many medical people that I should have no pain because there's no active infection. Although I've had a few doctors tell me, yeah, and I don't claim to be like an expert on things like fibromyalgia and that because I don't have it myself and I haven't had a lot of exposure to it. But that's a similar sort of thing. You can do scans and you're not going to see anything. But what people forget is that pain is perceived here. Not at the source of where the injury or the damage is, and that's in my case. So in all intents and purposes, I'm sitting here and my heels feel like I'm standing on hot nails. It feels every bit like when I used to have psoriatic arthritis flares in my heels. But I know that there's no problems in my heels. They're absolutely fine on scans. I've been to podiatrist, I've been to occupational therapists, I've been to physios, I've had x-rays, I've had MRIs. My feet are crystal clear, apart from psoriasis rashes, which is kind of an indication that there's a little bit of active disease because I tend to get the rashes over the joints that are inflamed. So, for example, if my big toe is sore, I'll tend to get like a rash over the knuckle of the big toe almost. So that is the hardest thing to get your head around. And for a long while, I think I probably took that information and that news as like, well, I ain't faking it. What are you saying? I'm making it up. And I think that is it's also a very male response, because we're so used to things being physical. I almost was insulted when they explained, well, they didn't use the term "it's in your head." That wouldn't have gone down well, but it technically is because that's where the pain pathways were created during this 11-month flare, and it hasn't gone away. And then you end up with this situation where you feel exactly the same thing you felt when you did have active disease, but the active disease isn't there, and that brings a lot of sort of like psychological challenges itself, because you feel, anyone who's watching this and in chat and lives with invisible illnesses and chronic illnesses, what that feels like, with that whole feeling like a fraud and feeling guilty and feeling like you can't point to something and show people. So when you then have that situation, in a weird way, as much as I struggled when I got my psoriasis onset, especially with body image and depression and everything, in a weird way, it made it easier because I could point to things and I could say, well, look, you see this rash here on my head? That's the same as what's going on in my joints, just on my skin. So in a weird way, that actually helped. So I've got seronegative. Yeah, so very little swelling. Yeah, exactly the same, Artemis. Mine as a child, I've got juvenile arthritis. It never shoot. I think I had one blood test when I had sort of elevated white blood cell count. It's never shown on x-rays. The only place my arthritis has ever presented is on MRIs. And if it weren't for MRIs, I wouldn't have got access to biologics, because every time they do the scans, well, it looks fine. But then they'd done an MRI on my hands and you could see all the little bits of damage and, so, and it's the hardest thing in the world because you feel like a fraud. I'd challenge anyone to not have those moments where because I think society sort of dictates that, if you've got an injury, you should be able to have something to show for it. And that's this stigma that we've got to kind of break down. So I'm just catching up on chat, guys. So Snuffle, recently all the doctors seem to understand that there is pain, but it's not from active disease. They often seem to treat it as if it means, yeah. And sometimes, I don't know, like for me, the treatment's sometimes secondary because like I before I got answers to my chronic pain, by that point I was kind of used to it, and I didn't really care what they did to try and fix it. I just wanted some answers. And I know it wouldn't change anything, but it does help you sort of prepare that mental battle, because once I got over that thought of, you saying I'm making it up or it's in my head or this sort of thing, once I think I understood the science of it, it kind of helped me process it and live with it. Because, one of the things I couldn't understand is with arthritis, typically, there's a fine balance between moving too much and not moving enough. And you could normally say, oh, okay, I'm flaring this week. That's because I overdone it last week, or I was too lazy last week, etc., etc. And the issue I had with this sort of permanent pain, nothing I did would change it. It's just literally, if I overdone it, I'd get sore muscles because my body is no longer as conditioned as it was when I was playing sport to hold everything in place. But the arthritis-y bit, the joints and everything, weren't any worse, and I could never get my head around it. But now I understand what's going on. It does help you take that battle on a little bit more, I suppose. Being about 12 and speaking about being brain fog. Yeah, and the brain fog snuffle, I can really relate to that now, because I never really experienced chronic fatigue and brain fog until the first year of the pandemic. And now I totally appreciate how exhausting all that is. And I think I've said about it online and that, my brain fog since getting COVID in February is insane. I just forget everything, just constantly. Also fibrous and cervical spondylosis and pain. Yeah, and people don't get that pain isn't the same. Like, when I talk about my pain is pain, so don't ask me what level. What I mean is, I'm in pain or I'm out of pain. It shouldn't matter if I tell a doctor I'm at a 7 or a 9 to change how they treat that, But pain is different. So like my psoriatic so technically I've got psoriatic associated juvenile idiopathic arthritis because I had arthritis as a kid. So I keep the JIA label, and then I developed psoriasis, so that makes it the subtype. But there is categorically a difference between the pain I feel in the joints now since getting the psoriatic arthritis bit, and the pain I used to get in other joints as a kid with, juvenile arthritis, which is weird, but there is a difference, and you feel it. Oh, I'm glad you got something that's working, Artemis, and yeah, sorry about the it's scary when biologics fail, because they are, for many people, miracle drugs, and I called them miracle drugs until, they still work, and I'm not covered in rashes anymore, and I can walk and play with my son. But when you think 3-4 years ago I was playing rugby and running half marathons, they're not the miracle drug I called them back then, because they seem to have a shelf life, and they don't last. And it can be scary when biologics stop working, because after that you got really limited options. Like you say, the chemo infusions and JAKs inhibitors. There isn't a lot on that timeline once biologics fail, and I think that was my big fear in 2019 when the biologics weren't having the same effect, because I thought to myself, well, if I take the option of JAKs inhibitors now, I haven't got a lot of options left, and I'm not even 40, and that felt like a long while to go with limited treatment options. And cheers for hanging around, Selby. I appreciate, for some people, if this isn't something they can relate to or they experience, it could be like a massive turn off. But the idea is that we provide a place of support and community for those people that do experience it, and occasionally people might hang around and learn something. And also, there are plenty of people out there that support people in these positions that want to understand and get some sort of insight into the experience of living with it. So like every day my DMs are full of parents whose kids have just got JIA and that, and it's really hard for me to advise them, because touch wood, my son hasn't developed JIA, and my experience as a kid with JIA is going to be different to their experience supporting a child as a parent. But all I can tell them is that stuff that used to make me probably a difficult child to manage, because of the stuff going on in your head around trying to understand it. So we're hoping, and obviously with the beauty of Twitch, we can clip this stuff, and if you guys see anything in stream and you want to use the clip feature, please do. It takes 30 seconds from the time before you pressed it, and you might have seen I've started sharing a couple of those on Instagram and that. But the good thing about clips, unlike these videos, Twitch takes these recordings down after 2 weeks, so they can be lost forever. I'm starting to export them onto YouTube, so we've got a bit of an archive, but I'm going to forget occasionally, or I'll be sick and can't do it, or whatever. But if you clip stuff, providing you don't delete it as the sort of clipper, and I don't delete it, it stays on the channel forever, which means I can then put that on Instagram and TikTok and etc, etc. So if anything comes up you think, yeah, that really is relatable, or people need to hear that, or something that you think might be useful, please do clip it, because we can then start to build a library on the channel as like resources for other people. Brain fog is generally the worst. Yeah, I must admit, I just didn't. I think a lot of people focus a lot on the pain, Snuffle, and I was one of them. It was all about the pain, which is why I bang on the likes of Twitter a lot now about the whole, it's not just about the pain. Because I think for a long time that's all that really mattered to me, until you get something else in the mix. Then you realise that there are other challenges to juggle. And the thing is, Artemis, on your point there about the brain fog, is like, I'm very much a confidence person, so the streams I don't show up to is because my confidence is on the floor, or in my work. I was the same when I played sport. I used to play hockey, and there would be seasons where I'd score like 14, 15 goals because my confidence was, I just felt unbeatable. But then it'd take like the smallest thing, and I'd be the worst person on the pitch for weeks in a row. And I think when you're that sort of confidence type of person as well, brain fog's really embarrassing. I'm used to chairing lots of meetings in the day job, and I manage people, and if you're not on steady ground, if you're unsure of your own memory and what's going to come out of your mouth, everything else clams up. And you see it in my advocacy. There's no coincidence that when I'm off work sick, like I was at the start of this week, I stopped putting stuff on social media and that, because it's almost like, I don't know, it's like someone pulling the carpet out from underneath you. Yeah, so I've had no exposure to Jackson Hibberts, to be honest, yet, Artemis, but I want to keep them in my back pocket, because I'm well aware that could be my last option until something new is invented, which who knows when that is. And Selby, you certainly are contributing, mate. Just being in the channel, getting involved in chat, asking questions, supporting other people in chat. The fact that you were online literally seconds after I went live, that is absolutely contributing. So don't ever feel like your value isn't seen. Just your presence is enough. I appreciate it. Yeah, isn't that amazing, Snuffle, that there are like for me, what we're trying to create here is a space for a community to form who are on Twitch around what we're doing. Because let's be honest, many of us use Twitch to see other people playing games and just have in the background when we're playing games. But like any cross-section of society, there's going to be a big chunk of people there that can relate to what we're talking about. So if we can create a space that isn't an Instagram post or a 200-character tweet, where people can actually actively get involved and support one another and feel seen and heard, then that's what we're trying to do here. However, if people like Selby hang around with no exposure, no experience, just for the vibe and to understand something, or when people come and join us because they've come over from another platform, seen a tweet or something, and they're signing up first time here at Twitch, that just blows my mind. That is like a whole different level to what I expected from this project. So yeah, thanks guys, I really appreciate it. Hi Malakaf, how's it going? Hope you're well. How's your weekend been? Yeah, we got yeah, it's great. Snuffle and Artemis and Selby have been here right from the get-go, so I really appreciate it, guys, because just chatting streams are nothing without the audience and the participation and the engagement, and it's you sharing your experiences and asking questions and steering the conversation that makes it what it is. Particularly, when on the weeks when we haven't got guests, because let's be honest, we're not going to be able to get a guest to come on every single Sunday night. People's time is precious and everything, and there are a lot of people who are happy to come on the podcast at the minute that are terrified of being on live stream, which is absolutely understandable. So some podcast episodes and things like that are going to have to carry on offline. But in these ones where we don't have a guest or whatever, and it's just me and you guys, then I absolutely really appreciate you guys getting involved and turning up. Especially you guys that are here every Tuesday and Sunday. It means the world. Cooking and baking and playing videos. That sounds like a pretty awesome Sunday. I've been wrestling a toddler all day, and not even in a fun way. Dylan is very much in the, I'm going to do everything the opposite to what you ask, and I'm going to do everything to get a reaction. And I must admit, when you're in pain and uncomfortable and tired, and it's the end of the... People think, I think we might have talked about it on another one, but people think the weekend is like, oh, this whole restful period, and you go back to work on Monday, and everyone's like, oh, did you have a good rest? No, I'm exhausted because by Friday through work, I'm broken. And then Saturday, Sunday, you put your dad hat on, and like I say, anyone who's had 3-year-olds will know what the current stage is like. It's like arguing with a mini version of yourself, but that's more cheeky and more stubborn. and then you turn up for work on Monday, and people wonder why you're exhausted. I'm still recovering after last week. Not a problem, Malakaf. Like I just said to Selby, just your presence is really appreciated here. So for anyone who's just dropping in, because I had a few people just drop in, welcome to the Chronic Pain Club. It's a Just Chat and stream we do every single Sunday. It's basically whatever you guys want it to be. So my background, a advocate, patient leader, whatever you want to call it, in arthritis and psoriatic disease. But I do a lot of work in mental health as well. But if you want to come and talk about other illnesses, invisible disability, chronic illness in general, then this is the place for you guys. We're pretty unique on Twitch, so for those of you that have found us here already, amazing. I still think there's a lot more people out there. We just need to somehow make our light shine a little bit brighter in the sea that is Twitch. So I think what we're doing here is really special, and you guys make that. So please, if you want to ask questions, if you want to share your story, if you want to get involved, or simply just support one another, then please do. This week's theme is about how mental health has an impact, like alongside your chronic illness. People tend to focus on pain and time off work and things like that, but what we don't probably talk about enough is mental health. And this is off the back of the reel that got launched today by myself in conjunction with IFPA, announcing like the theme of World Psoriasis Day later this year, which is about unloading, the mental health challenges of living with psoriatic disease. But that applies to all chronic illness, the mental health side of things. So that's the loose theme. But like I say, if you guys want to take us off on a tangent and we can deep dive into some other areas, then that's absolutely fine. Yeah, no worries, Selby, really appreciate it. And yeah, cheers, I really appreciate you lurking, because like I said before, guys, if you we're all got lives, it's all busy, and the world's opening up, which makes us feel even more pressured for our time. But if you can still lurk away, then I really appreciate it. That helps a lot. So cheers for getting involved, Selby, and especially, like I say, when I know that you're not somebody that has one of these conditions, so the fact that you hang out here to listen and to learn makes you an awesome human being. So thank you, and I hope you take something away from it. So I can't remember what I was saying, Artemis, before Malakaf jumped in and I got sidetracked. Talked about JAKs inhibitors, talked about, so yeah, basically, so like the issue with like the week that I've just had. So pain was the big problem. Monday, Tuesday. By about Wednesday, I'd kind of got a lid on it again. And hi there, Maria Juana. How are you going? Thanks for getting involved and saying hello. Anyone who's got access to emotes and everyone, say hello to Maria in chat, guys. So So I hope from your username you're going to be a friendly chatter and we're not about to get spammed. So basically, yeah. So that week, and as if you are genuine, Maria, don't take offence to that. It's generally just because we talk about pain and arthritis and chronic illness here, and so occasionally it does mean we get bots jump in trying to sell us stuff. So yeah, if you're genuine, really appreciate it. Thank you, and yeah, thanks for getting involved and saying hello. Remember to hit the follow button as well, so you know that when we go live, we're here on Tuesday nights and Sunday nights. So Tuesday night is Animal Crossing sort of chilled out stream where we're basically raising awareness of psoriatic disease. On Sunday night, which is where you are here, in case anyone else has lost track of time like I have, this is the Chronic Pain Club, where we basically talk about all things chronic pain, chronic illness, invisible disability, sort of really trying to carve out a space on Twitch for people to hang out and support one another and ask questions and everything else. And yeah, cheers Maria, thank you. Like I say, we literally had one jump in on the last stream and I had to quickly kick, so and they had a very similar name, so apologies for me being a little bit guarded there, but I'm sure you know what it's like on Twitch occasionally, and we are talking about really sensitive subjects and people share a lot in here, so I have to obviously make sure I'm protecting the audience, so yeah, appreciate it. So yeah, as I was sort of saying, is like my pain doesn't really change, but my ability to cope with it does. My ability would have the resilience and patience and all this sort of jazz. And then what quickly happens is, as I'm sure many of you guys will relate, what starts off as a pain problem or an ability to manage pain turns into a mental health problem, and that's kind of what brought me to the subject of tonight's topic. So like I say, it's not a firm topic, we can go off on tangents, but just to give us something to guide the conversation, particularly at the start of the stream when it tends to be a bit quieter. How you doing, Amy? Absolutely no apologies needed. I really just appreciate your company, so thanks for coming back, really appreciate it. Yeah, it's just crazy, you guys. You're like, I really want us to get to the 10 concurrent chatters so I get the more VIP badges, because there's obviously 5 or 6 of you guys that all deserve them, just for keep turning up every single stream. And at the very least, that does mean if Twitch isn't being particularly kind and not sending out notifications, which we know has happened in the past, and not advertising us to anyone, because let's be honest, we are a niche. We're as niche as they come in terms of content here on Twitch, and it's going to take a while for that to grow. And when we maybe got 50 people in chat and everything else, it's not going to be hard for new people to find us. But for now, we're only 4 months old. It's going to take some time. So for you 5 or 6 guys who just keep coming back every single stream and being so welcoming to new people like Maria and everything else, it means the world. So yeah, once we get that 10 people, we got 2 streams ago, we hit 9 out of 10. That was so close. And like I say, I don't know what the time window is. It's presumably it's like maybe a 5 or 10 minute period. So if we hit that, then I can hopefully reward you guys that don't have that badge. Oh, brilliant! Thank you, Maria. And yeah, and like I say, apologies again. I had to be guarded when you first jumped in because, yeah, I just learned on Twitch. Anyone with certain words or numbers in their username, you have to just be quick to respond to. And like I say, I've just got people to protect here, so really appreciate your you bearing with me whilst we got over that sticky introduction. I appreciate that, Snuffle. Yeah, I really do. And it still just blows my mind that we are finally getting people finding us what we're doing on Twitch. Hi Lou, thanks for the follow, really appreciate it. Everyone say hello to Lou, and if you'd like me to pronounce that differently, please let me know. But basically, if you're new here, firstly, thank you for following. We stream on Tuesday nights an Animal Crossing chilled out stream, a project we're doing with IFPA. And then on Sunday nights here, we do the Chronic Pain Club, which is a just chat and stream about everything chronic illness, invisible disability. And what we're doing, as you can see from the chat, this is amazing, guys. We're sort of really starting to create our own little niche thing here on Twitch. So whilst, you know, thousands of other people are playing Elden Ring, we're going to sit here and support one another and ask questions and share stories and try and offer similar things to what already happens on your Facebooks and Instagrams and everything else, but in a more live, hopefully better value sort of entertainment sort of thing. So yeah, thanks, guys. Thank you for Maria for getting involved in chat and saying hello and introducing yourself. Thank you for Lou for the follow. And we do, alongside those Tuesday and Sunday night streams, guys, we do try and fit in one more. So either a Wednesday or a Thursday. It is fluid, which is why I don't schedule it, because, you know, I have a long-term health condition and I only have so much capacity in my battery. But if you hit the follow button, you'll get a notification when I go live. And since we have so many new people, please feel free to go over to our Discord server there and join up. It's completely free. You don't have to be a subscriber or anything like that. And essentially that is our chat room for the channel, where when I'm not online, which obviously is a big percentage of the week, that's where all the magic happens. And we are a brand new channel, so most of what you guys sort of feedback to me is what the channel develops into, because I'm well aware that I've got a vision for what we're doing here, which we are now starting to work towards, but there is a real opportunity for it to become what you guys feel is a need and everything. So yeah, please get involved in Discord during the week. We talk about everything from specific channel stuff, potential events, potential comps, arthritis support, pain support, but also just computer games. Maria, thank you ever so much for the sub. I really appreciate it, guys. Chuck some emotes and thank Maria for me in chat. To be a first timer here and then jump straight in with the sub is just amazing. So it really does help the channel like massively. So thank you ever so much. I really appreciate it. And hello, Lou. Thank you for saying hello in chat. And I appreciate if this is your first time here, you might have had to go through the mobile phone verification thing. That is just a safety thing. We talk about sensitive stuff here. We want it to be safe. So by having that first time, you don't have to do it once. But if you verify your Twitch account with your phone number, it just means it's one more layer of protection to stop the bots and the spams and the people trying to sell us stuff. So thank you, guys. Really appreciate it. It's awesome. So yeah, we only get the 10 first sub badge. That Maria will definitely get a sub badge. If Maria says something in chat, we'll have a look what comes up now they've subbed. I think there's still a couple of first sub badges going. You only get 10 when a channel first starts. You get some more when you get to partner. There we go. So Maria's got it. So there we go. So guys, that you'll see next to Maria's name, there is a founder badge. That is Maria's to keep. You only get 10 of those when a channel first becomes affiliate, like we are. Snuffle's got one. Gift subs don't count, so there is still a couple of those badges. And essentially, as far as I understand it, if your sub lapses and you go away for a couple of months, then you come back and resub, that first founder badge comes back. So again, it's the beauty of being a brand new channel, doing something very new and something very special. We're trying to find lots of ways that you guys can do the whole sort of like I was here and I was part of it. So yeah, it's awesome. So everyone that gets involved now, and Lou, I've just seen that your Twitch version, that just blows my mind. You know, we came to Twitch to try and do what we were doing on other social medias to a potentially different audience. You know, there's different people on Twitch, you know, either from a much younger audience, but also, you know, gamers and everything are less likely sometimes to be in Facebook support groups or whatever. So the fact that people actually come over here to consume this for the first time, it just fries my brain, absolutely fries my brain. So thank you, Lou. I'm ever so grateful, as you could probably tell. So yeah, this is also, and Amy's like a pro now. Like, I don't think Amy had ever been on Discord, and now we're getting pictures of cars being shared that got burnt out in New Zealand. And that's an in-joke that you're going to have to head over to Discord to understand, guys. And that's the other thing I think that's awesome about a brand new channel that's just growing as quickly as this, is that you don't get many moments where, you know, you can hold on to those sort of like memory things that people who come along a year from now are not going to get. So yeah, R.I.P. Ben indeed. Ben the Beast. So I think that's really cool as well, and I'm keen to capture that stuff before it gets big, and then I can't be as personal. And you know, because I find that on Instagram, like, there was a time where I'd post and then sit and spend half an hour replying to comments, and now I'm really conscious it takes me a couple of days to get back to everyone, and I don't want to lose that. So that's where Discord comes in, where, you know, if we do get to a point where chat's just like streaming, which is awesome, I can still, be personal in other ways. And by the way, guys, we're probably getting really close to the 10 concurrent chatters to unlock some more VIP badges that I mentioned earlier. So I don't know what the time limit is there, but we must have already 6-7 people chatting at the moment. So if we can get that to 10, so yeah. Oh, and guys, it's the first hype train we've had on this channel ever. And that is thanks to Maria and Lou. Thank you for the sub, Lou. That's awesome. Again, for somebody to come straight over. So just a reminder, guys, if you are new here to Twitch, subscribe and obviously supports the channel. But it also means you don't get adverts. It also means you get access to emotes. So if you hit the little smiley on your chat, you will see the channel emotes that you can use on other channels. You don't just have to use them here, but they are yours whilst you're subbed. And there are other perks and everything that will unlock as the channel grows. But yeah, this is the first hype train we've got, which basically is a way of Twitch sort of drumming up a bit of excitement. So that only gets, I don't start those. That's automatic. Twitch starts those when you get like a spike in subs and follows. So the fact that we've got a couple of people sub to trigger that shows you that that's not happened on the channel before. So thanks, guys, really appreciate it. It's just awesome, absolutely awesome. And yeah, hopefully, Lou, next time you put something in chat, you'll also have a first badge. What I will say, guys, I don't know how many of them are left, so don't go demanding a refund if someone subs and that happened to have been the 11th person, because gift subs don't count towards getting the founder badge. So it's only people that have subbed for themselves. So I know we have a few left, but obviously things are happening quick tonight. I don't know how many there are left. This is just incredible, guys. We are on Twitch, a place where people come to watch people play computer games or sit in hot tubs or whatever other stupid crazy stuff people are into. We're talking about pain and arthritis and psoriasis, and we've got all these people watching, people subscribe, and people joining Twitch for the first time to get involved. That is just, it just fries my brain. So thank you so much. And I looked the other day and there was 70 odd hours got into this channel before today. And obviously a lot of those hours were probably me talking to myself whilst, people found us and everything else. So this feels like payback now, and just a reminder, like, to myself that what we're doing here is needed. So thank you, really appreciate it, guys. Right, I need to catch up on chat. I'm not used to having such a busy chat. Yeah, Amy, the whole promoting things, I try to do the same as well. Like on Twitter, it's going to be more quotes, sound bites, articles. People are more likely to read my articles on Twitter than they are ever on Facebook, that sort of thing. So the whole point of us being here was we could maybe find people who weren't consuming that stuff, who wouldn't feel comfortable joining a Facebook support group and all that sort of thing. So the fact that people are finding us here, but those of you that are coming over and using Twitch for the first time, using Discord for the first time, because of, me talking about this stuff, that's just incredible, guys. Absolutely incredible. Right, sorry, I'm catching up. IG, Twitter. Hope you're doing better, Joel, after a hard week. Yeah, it's rough, Amy. I'm not going to lie. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, pain was insane. Went back to work Thursday. Friday, I had to log off because I started crying. that was pretty much my work week, and it's embarrassing, but it's only embarrassing because of the walls I put up for myself. Deep down I know it's nothing to be embarrassed about. That's why I talk about it on here. But the reason I don't hide that stuff and do that whole, we should all talk about these things and be comfortable with our mental health, is because me doing that is not going to make the other person at the end of this screen watching this open up who also feels like that. So I talk about my flaws and my faults and how I feel about this stuff, because I know that there's millions of other people who also feel like that. And if you only relied on the likes of Instagram for your information, you would think that everybody succeeds. And I know everyone's going to agree with me with this term, but the people that use the whole thriving with on socials, and I'm like, I ain't thriving, because if I didn't have it, I could do so much more. So I don't use words like thriving, because I know what I used to be able to do for sports, physical activity wise, and everything else. I could sit in a chair for more than bloody 2 hours for a start. So that's why I talk about how it makes me feel, and the times when I'm not proud or embarrassed, because I know that other people need to hear that. I run an arthritis support group in Wales. Yeah, and that's it. And that Artemis about the Facebook group, that terrifies me, because there is very little in today's world which is like real estate that you own. Like, I'm well aware that my Instagram account could get closed tomorrow, my Facebook group could get closed tomorrow, I could get kicked off Twitch tomorrow, and that terrifies me. So like a year ago I made the decision to get rid of my website and start putting like my articles on Medium and this sort of thing, because it was just too much money. I was like spending a fortune on all this stuff. But that makes me really nervous, and that stuff could close in a heartbeat, or people could leave en masse in a heartbeat. So I'm well aware of spreading myself too thin, but the whole point of it is to try and everyone consumes their information and content differently. So I try to reach as many as I can. It's better to be open, yeah, especially if you're a man. Amy, like, I know, I've spent years of my life in hockey and rugby changing rooms, and people wouldn't show weakness, and if you show weakness you might be dropped the next week, and people would run through ridiculous injuries. I broke the last season of rugby I played, I broke my ankle and played for 10 minutes on a broken ankle. I couldn't even walk, and that is just that whole, so you're not going to talk about your pain or your lack of sleep or your fatigue or your brain fog or anything like this. So you hide it, and that isn't a healthy way to be, which is why I do what I do. And we're only going to get more people open up about this if people do it. I was open about my arthritis as a kid and as a teenager because I couldn't hide it. I was in a wheelchair like many people with JIA. Many of us were sort of really bad mobility wise in our youth. I don't know why that is. I really need to speak to a doctor or a scientist to understand that. But so many of us I speak to, I was like, I used to be in a wheelchair as a kid. Yeah, so was I. And you couldn't hide it, and you had to deal with it, and all the bullying and everything that went with it. And then you have your first big remission, and a lot of people get their first big remission like I did, sort of 17, 18. So I just reinvented myself, totally reinvented myself. I grew a mohawk, joined a band, toured the country. I literally never talked about my arthritis at all. To the point where one of the things I wrote about was like at university, I'd go out drinking, and I'd have to come back to my room, make myself sick, empty my stomach, because I used to be on methotrexate back then, which obviously you can't drink pints and pints on top. Then I'd go back out and joke about, oh yeah, I met up with a girl or what, and it's terrible looking back. But it's important for me to talk about it because at the time I felt like that was my only option, that was my only choice. I felt like I had to hide it and I had to fit in and I couldn't be an exception. And then you get older, and then like me, you become a dad, and you start seeing the world differently, like almost overnight, and you want to make that tiny changes while you're around so that you leave things in a better place. And then somehow I ended up going completely full circle. But the fact I felt like that, and I felt like that right up until 2019 when that whole flare meant I didn't have a choice, and I literally had to disappear from all my hobbies overnight. And even then I didn't really tell people. It was only when my posts and stuff on Facebook started getting shared, I had like proper anxiety sweats. The first one that blew up, and I think there was one I'd done that the National Ankylosing Spondylitis Society shared, and ended up like having like 250 shares, and I was like terrified. I wasn't prepared for that, but it kind of did then just unlock this thing in me to talk about it. And if we don't, people are going to carry on living their lives like I did, and it's not only lonely and isolating, it's bloody dangerous, because I did some really stupid things on some of them drugs with alcohol and everything else. And Lou, completely agree, mental health is harder than the actual pain. It's kind of what I've been banging on about on social media all week. And like I said earlier in the stream, and we've got so many people watching this now, guys, this is insane. Thank you. Especially when we are talking about a very niche thing. I really appreciate it. But like I said earlier in the stream, my pain always starts as pain and then it morphs. And I'm really lucky that I say lucky. I need to give myself more credit that I've been really open with my employers. In the past, I wasn't and lost jobs and everything else. But I'm really open now, so they understand that I might be off on Monday and Tuesday with pain. By Thursday, it might be depression. And that's exactly what happened this week. Like literally Friday, I just could not stop crying. I had no reason. I got a fairly decent night's sleep. The pain wasn't any worse than it was earlier in the week. I just literally could not face the day. And just getting my son to nursery so I could like take that weight off my shoulders of responsibility and know that I could just switch off for a couple of hours. Just doing that felt like a full day's work. I was exhausted, and it was all mental health. But I'm lucky now because of the groundwork I've put in since 2019 with my employer, because I totally changed as a person. I went from being super reliable, never had a day off. I used to go in on a Monday on crutches because I'd broke something from playing rugby, and I'd still be at work, and I wasn't unreliable. And then all of a sudden my arthritis came back and everything fell apart, and it took me a lot of months to start opening up on that with my employer, which just made things worse because I didn't know what had happened to me, or had I lost interest, or was I, whatever the situation was. So it's actually quite refreshing now. I still beat myself up. It's really important to point out to anyone else that does that whole sitting by the phone or writing the email to say you're not going into work and feeling like the worst human in the world, because I really do still get that. I wrote an article about it once about sitting on the edge of the bath. It's like the longest point of my day when I already know in my head I'm not going to work, but I've got to tell somebody I'm not going to work. And I think just because my personality, my willingness, my not wanting to make things harder for other people doesn't match with my physical health, so it creates this like conflict for me. That is at least a little bit easier now that I know when I say to my boss, I know I was off on Monday with pain, but now it's depression. I haven't got to justify that anymore, and that makes life a lot easier. So if you can get to that place, I'd recommend it. It doesn't happen overnight, and some people are assholes, let's be honest, and not everyone's going to be as supportive as I've got in my situation. I have lost jobs because of my condition, so I know that not everybody is lucky enough to have that experience. But yeah. So but if you can, that would be my recommendation. I'm going to try and catch up on chat again, guys. This is a new skill for me. I'm not used to having so many people chatting. Yeah, that first remission, Lou, is a T. And I forgot about it. I thought it was in the past. And my doctors didn't help with that, because I was told, oh, well, you'll either grow out... Oh, no, I think their actual words were, you'll probably grow out of it. So there was no plan B for me having arthritis as an adult. There just wasn't. So when I went into remission at 17, I think between about 17 to 22, I had no real issues. Come back when I was about 23. And I just weren't ready for it. I'd gone all this time not having to explain to girlfriends that I had this problem, and all this sort of stuff. And then all of a sudden, I was like, now what do I do, Maria, yeah, I thought I was invincible on Embrel. I thought that on Humira. I used to call Humira my miracle drug, and then they changed it to the biosimilar, and I've gone back on Humira. And don't get me wrong, I can walk, I can play with my son. I'm grateful. I'm not on crutches like I was a year or two ago, but Humira basically meant I could play rugby and I could run and I could be completely normal. That's not the right word, but you know what I mean when I say that. So when it still works. So credit where credit's due. It's a lot better than me for Trexating out when I was throwing up in the mornings and had a very bad problem with my liver and everything. But you get a taste, don't you? You get a taste of what it was like, and then when you lose that, it hurts. So yeah. Deal with that. I can never say that word, by the way, Lou, so I always say Humira. I really struggle with pronouncing my own medication. By the way, I didn't realise, guys, completely useless fact, when I went for my COVID antibody treatment, I didn't realise they all end with AB because MAB because of their monoclonal antibodies. Nerdy arthritis-y autoimmune fact for you, but I could never understand why they made these words so like they were literally impossible to say with a human mouth. And the MAB is because of the monoclonal antibodies drug type. So yeah, learn something new every day. And I'm still learning. Just why I don't claim to be an expert on anything. I just try to be a voice for people that are suffering. Right, let's get caught up, Joel. Sort yourself out. the thing is, you think it's going to be really quiet because it's a bank holiday weekend and no one's going to want to sit around and talk about pain and arthritis and stuff. And then you guys just go and blow my mind. I really appreciate it. Um, I'm so lucky with my current employer. They're so understanding. I've made FHR. Yeah, and when that happens, Lou, and that's like the most amazing thing, especially if you've had bad experiences like many of us have. Like looking back, what happened to me in my 20s when my arthritis come back, so I basically lost my job because of that. Again, because you're totally two different people. You go from being this like, and when, as you probably see from my advocacy stuff, when I commit to something, I go full tilt. There's no like half measures, and I'm the same with my work. So then when my condition comes back and starts to be a problem again, the conflict that causes me and the shift in performance and the way people see you, because if you're used to being this standard and then you can't even get close to that, I've realised that over the years I've kind of made a rod for my own back with the bar I set myself, which doesn't help, because then when you flare, it's impossible to meet, so you have to adapt and adjust. But a lot of employers get a lot of stick, but they can only support with what they know, and 95% of my employers until recently didn't know my full situation, so you can't. I used to be very angry about what happened to me in the past, especially in my 20s. But looking back, I didn't give them the full picture, So if I didn't give them the full picture, I didn't give them the full opportunity to support. And it's the same with friends and family. I get a lot of stuff in my inbox with like people saying people don't understand and they think I'm cancelling because I don't want to go out to them. And then when you sort of dig a bit and say, well, have you explained how this feels? And have you explained how you're just as frustrated as they are? And, it's hard because we want to find someone to blame for our chronic illnesses. Sometimes that isn't always possible. In fact, often it isn't possible to pin it down to any one thing. But it's human nature. So all we can do is try and give people the best possible opportunity to help and support, I think, and education and sharing our experiences is the best way to start that. And thank you, Maria. Yeah, I'm happy too. I still feel hell of a guilty, like I say, guys. Don't think I sit there with a smile on my face every time I call in sick. I still hate, and I think it's a strong word, but it's true. I hate how my condition restricts me, especially the last 2 years. Appointments have been cancelled, treatment's been cancelled, can't get access to all the things I'd normally use, like physio and pain management and whatever else. And it's kind of like you feel like you've got a weight tied around one leg. So I don't hate myself. I used to use that term. I don't hate myself. I hate my situation still, because I know what I am capable of. And it's a bit like the advocacy stuff, for a long while I've thought to myself, this could be a career. I could do this, and I know what I could achieve with it, and I know that I could help people. And it's really frustrating when you have to cancel streams and you have to say no to an article you were commissioned to write, or you turn down that opportunity to speak. So I'm really trying to go for it this year, despite my health being no really better off, because I don't know, it's a very tiring feeling to feel like your potential, the ceiling of that has been brought right down. And for any of you guys watching this that have been through that with flare and a chronic illness, you will know exactly what I mean. It really does feel like someone's just diluted you or put a ceiling on it. I think it's probably the best analogy. So I thought I was invincible too. Meds just stopped working. Yeah, right. That is exactly it, Artemis. That is a much better way of what I was trying to say. That your brain, I used to have a line for it and I've forgotten. Good old brain fog. When body can't do what your mind wants to do what your body won't allow, or something like. I wrote once. I can't remember it. It's in the back catalogue somewhere, but it's exactly that. Yeah, and Amy, remission is hard to get your head around. There isn't many other conditions. Imagine you broke your leg and you got it fixed, and then in 6 months' time you have to go back for a service and a part change or something, because it's kind of like that, isn't it? It doesn't make sense. By the way, guys, thank you for people using the pain points for the dedicated viewer stream. I haven't focused too much on that because obviously we're not doing Animal Crossing tonight, but I do really appreciate it. So it is noticed, and I'm having to put my chat in slow mode to keep up. So I'm so sorry if there's a bit of a delay me looking at this, guys. And keep chatting between yourselves as well, because there's as much about you supporting each other as me sharing my experience. I love a nerdy arthritis fact. Christ, I really am behind. I've just seen how far behind that we already know there. So yeah, I don't know, that that monoclonal one, that just fascinated me. I like collecting those weird little facts. So anyone else want to share a nerdy arthritis chronic illness fact in chat? Knock yourselves out. We can all learn from it. Sorry to hear you had COVID, Lou. It's rough. Let me know how you are in a couple of weeks after that, because I've really, like I said earlier on in the stream, I've really struggled with the brain fog. Like, really struggled. And I shared something on social media. I can't remember if we talked about it on a previous stream. Again, brain fog. But apparently, oh, that's it. Yeah, I saw a physio at my local doctor's, because I've been getting all these like aches and pains, and my pain, like I said, my pain, I can't tell if it's risen or if I'm just not coping with it as well. But they're seeing lots and lots of people with autoimmune conditions post-COVID reporting the same. And the logic she gave me was, you take many of us, as I can see on chat here, are on drugs that suppress our immune system. And for people watching this that don't understand that, our body attacks itself in arthritis in the joints, in psoriasis on the skin, etc., etc. Colitis and Crohn's, it's exactly the same process as in the digestive system. So we take lots of these drugs to lower our immune system. And you take my experience in the last year, I've had 4 COVID vaccines to tell my body to produce antibodies. I've had a flu jab to do the same thing. I've had a pneumonia jab to do the same thing. And then when I got COVID, I was put on the antibody drip. And all of these processes are saying to my body, do something, activate. And there seems to be like a trend pointing towards those of us with these sort of autoimmune conditions where our bodies almost get reactivated because of that. Thank you for the hydrate, Renee. I do need reminding. I'm chatting away like a madman. Right. What else have we got in here? One of the people who are yeah, that's that is definitely a stone thought, Maria. I'll leave other people to answer that one in their heads. Go on then, Lou. What you got for us? Yeah, this is the thing with people don't understand. They think it's all pain and swelling and this sort of thing. They don't understand this. Effectively, I remember one of the first doctors who explained it to me when I was a kid was just like, if you imagine you've got an army and they've got nothing to do, and then they start fighting themselves. And I always remember that. I don't know, it's probably not the best analogy, but it just always sticks with me. That so people don't understand that's what's going on when you have arthritis in your knee and everything else. And one thing I'm going to ask you guys, since we've got lots of people, what do you make of the news that come out in the UK? I appreciate for those of you watching outside the UK, and a slightly controversial one about the whole stories that ran about arthritis and physio being better than taking your painkillers and everything, because I thought that was really badly portrayed, and there was a lot of big charities involved in that news story, and I was pretty angry, but I bit my tongue and didn't put anything on social media, because there's a big difference between arthritis through wear and tear, and yes, physio and movement would help massively with that, but doing blanket headlines of NHS says stop taking painkillers for arthritis and move more really got to me, because for those of us that have yeah, thank you, Lou. That's kind of what I wanted to say, but as host, I have to control my. No, you knock yourself out. So basically, when we do the Animal Crossing Ifper Island one on a Tuesday, it tends to be a bit more family friendly. That's not possible here. We're talking about subjects that are passionate and difficult and close to our hearts. So yeah, knock yourself out. Yeah, and it was snuffle. Is exactly what it was. The advice was for wear and tear. But what really annoyed me, and I was a little bit disappointed with some of the charities involved there, is that they really didn't make that distinction very clear, like to the point where it could be dangerous. For anyone that doesn't know what we're talking about, I'm going to find a link. I think like the Times did a headline of, it was basically so blunt of stop taking painkillers for arthritis, and I was like, you what? Let me go to health on BBC. What's the button? I now can't find it very quickly. It's the trouble. News stories change so quickly. It's been and gone in a heartbeat. But that's why it makes it dangerous. Because people see the headline and they don't realise the difference. And yeah. So I'm going to have to search. Yeah, and the thing is, like in America, Lou, I don't know where you're based. Presumably you're here because if you know that, but like in America, everyone assumes you've got OA. Here it tends to be more RA, but in America, everyone I've ever spoke to of my advocacy work, that's a broadly over exaggeration, but you know what I mean. The majority will assume OA is when you say arthritis, you're talking about OA. Where here it tends to be RA, and that's really frustrating because it's totally different processes. I'm trying to find it, guys, for those that aren't aware. If anyone finds it earlier, then you got my permission to put a link, as long as it's from a reputable news source. The other thing that I thought was quite funny is that they used an x-ray picture that were clearly kids' knees for wear and tear arthritis. So here we go. Oh, there we go. Thank you, Near Cheeks. Everyone say hello to first time chatter, Near Cheeks. I'm smiling because I know who Near Cheeks is and they're in the room beside me. I'm going to do a screen share. Hang on, guys. I haven't done this for a while, so let's see if it works. Oh, I haven't got a scene for it. That's typical. Thanks, Lou. Oh yes, showing painkiller. Yeah, there's a whole different debate going on in America about that, isn't there? Why haven't I got a scene? Let me quickly add a source in. Do some live behind the scenes streaming work here. Capture games, media source. Talk amongst yourselves, guys. Browser. We're going to need to do this at some point anyway, so we might as well do it now. Thank you, dear Chief. That does prove you actually the whole time you've been lurking these last 4 months you are actually listening to what's going on. I do appreciate that, especially when you have to tolerate me all day. Let's grab this one. There we go. Right, let me know, guys, if you can see this when it comes up in a minute. Can you see the browser? I don't know if I can make it very pretty, because I'm doing this live. But yeah, essentially, this was the story. But what? So they have now amended this headline. That headline did not say wear and tear when it launched. I can promise you that. It did not say wear and tear. And it definitely doesn't say it on the front of the Times either. So so that was really frustrating. Is that looking alright on screen, by the way, guys? Because like I say, this is the first time I've done this, so I'm learning. I probably shouldn't have it cover my face. Just realised. Let's see. Like I say, I'm doing this on the fly, so bear with me. If I put it here, does that work? Trouble is, I have a delay, obviously, from what I'm doing on screen. Thank you, Nia. There's a person in chat, guys, who really deserves the whole founder badge or something special for tolerating all my talking about arthritis all day and then watching it all night. Right, I can't get that to look in a sensible place. I can't. Let's move this. I see what I've done now. I see what I've done. Right, I will find a way to make that look prettier another time. So for now, we'll hide that. But yeah, essentially, that was the issue. Yeah, spot on, Artemis. And Artemis knows what she's talking about from the other stuff she does outside of Twitch world. That I think for me, it was the absence of the wear and tear title, and it was the whole not showing how, because I know I have to move. I walk 5 miles a day, or I did until I lost my dog. I'm going to try and keep that up. But I know I have to walk every day. That if I don't, I like when people talk about bed days, I don't have bed days. So when I'm off work and people say, oh, yeah, have a rest, have a bed day, or I don't have a bed day because I wouldn't be able to move for 3 days afterwards. So I don't do that. And it doesn't work for me. But all they needed to do was distinguish the difference between wear and tear and inflammatory arthritis and the benefits of physical movement as a complete package with our other treatments. You can't just stop the painkillers. Yeah, of course I will, Artemis. So I say, sorry guys, I will get a screen share scene. So basically, what you guys don't see behind the scenes on Twitch when you're streaming, you have things called scenes, and that'll have your webcam, the backdrop, the mic you're using, the video footage, blah 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 blah. And they take a while to put together. So trying to create a screen share one on the fly was never going to be pretty. But I will create a new one, so that my camera's on the side, one side, browsers on the other, because it's just natural that when talking about this stuff on a Sunday night, we're going to need to pull up stuff on the internet, and maybe YouTube videos and other things that might be relevant. So yeah, let me jump on Discord. Anyone that isn't on Discord, by the way, guys, the link is there. I won't be able to see messages in there at the minute because obviously I'm streaming. It shuts it off for me to protect me from accidentally sharing anything on screen. But I will catch up with any new joiners and everything when I'm back offline. But for now, I've just chucked the BBC link in there. Cool. But yeah, I thought that was an interesting one to mention because that just wound me up beyond. And I think what was really annoying is I saw some sort of really big hitters in the UK arthritis space say things that didn't help on Twitter as well. I'm not going any deeper than that, but like celebrating it as good news. And for a lot of us, if it was reported properly, then yeah, probably. But whilst that misinformation was going around, it was very hard to see the good in it, if that makes sense. I'm being very careful with my words. Have we got our 10 chatters yet, do you think, guys? What have we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We must be so close to having our 10 chatters tonight. Yeah, sorry, Renault. Sorry, Renault, I missed your question earlier. So, yeah, long story short, the NHS changed its guidance to say that instead of painkillers, physical activity should be used to treat wear and tear arthritis. But when this was when it was reported in the mainstream media, and also some of the big charities messaging weren't exactly specific, didn't distinguish the difference between inflammatory arthritis and wear and tear arthritis. So for those of us that have spent years banging on about my arthritis is not the same as your sore knee from being a plumber for 40 years, just undone it in a heartbeat. Well, as that felt to me anyway. So I just decided to stay very quiet on Twitter on that day. So obviously I do loads and loads of work for the charities and associations, and they're a key part of the battle. I think the bit where I tend to take issue is that you can be wrong sometimes, and guidance changes and things change. And as I've spoke about on this stream before, I also have concerns when things are done for the likes, because there's a whole range of people that should be represented. So I don't sit down and think, I'm going to do this Facebook post because I know that it's going to do really well on Instagram and it's going to get loads of people like it because it's going to fit right into that 18 to 25-year-old demographic. That's the bit I'm uncomfortable with. It's like targeting things for the gram and stuff like that. So I think if people are if people are like prepared to say, you know what, we got it wrong. And where I first got that kind of had that sort of issue was with the biologics biosimilar switch here in the UK, because quite rightly a lot of organisations supported that, because the NHS marketed it as it's going to be a £5 million saving a year. We'll get people moved over to biosimilars, which will mean more people will get access to biologics and everyone's happy. Now, of course you'd support that. Why wouldn't you support that as you're an organisation? However, for 6 to 12 months after that, there was thousands of people like me that were shafted by that whole move, that were in a permanent flare, that couldn't get access to the original biologic, even though we were all told we could switch back straight back to it. So basically a lot of CCGs around the UK, or I think it was a UK thing, it might have been an England only thing, got everyone switched over really quickly with no notice, and then shut the door, and you couldn't go back to your original biologic. So at my mind, a lot of the charities at that point should have then been campaigning for us, the patients, to say, well, we didn't sign up for this, we need to make sure we address. And nobody, you can Google all you like, nobody did a campaign on the thousands of people that were left in massive flares post the biosimilar switch. And that for me is where I get a little bit uncomfortable, because ultimately you should be campaigning for us, the patient. It can't be all good news. Things go wrong. Things don't always go to plan. Christ, I work in the NHS, I know that. Things sometimes are done with good intentions, and then the outcome is different. You know, that's life. But I think the important bit is knowing when to jump the fence and change your stance. And I think that's where we have challenges, where you know, when the goalposts move. And sometimes it's the patient that is left in the dark. Like I say, I'm being really careful with my words on that. So I think you catch my drift. Of course, we've got lots of international people, so we appreciate it, guys. That's late on a Sunday night, so thank you for getting involved and hanging around. Yeah, totally, Amy. And you only, you know, the funding, the bank account details, all of this stuff is publicly available in the UK. So you can go look at that and see what the income and turnover and revenue and everything else is. And it's absolutely staggering, the difference in some of that. And you do, you know, the work I do, you know, the amount of time I have for those really small, done out of a spare bedroom, out of their own pocket. It's like the JAR project. You know, they've got them awesome little Kippo packs and little packs that go out to kids with JIA. Every single one of them is, you know, they have very limited funding. A lot of the time they're posted out of their own pocket. Sometimes they're paid for out of their own pocket, and then you can see where that passion comes from. And they just appreciate, like that Word Day thing. It's just so grateful, and that was really, you know, that's not why I do it, but it's nice. And you know, there's been a lot of things happened in some of them organisations the last 2 years. Just seeing Amy's other comment about turnover, and again, some of that stuff gets a little bit buried. And I think if it was any other sort of like a public organisation, and there was issues with culture and that, I think that stuff would be a lot more open. And one of the things I feel like is it should be a lot more open, because these people are asking people to part with their money. People do a lot of effort for fundraising and stuff like that. I think if you've got an issue with turnover because of bullying or culture or racism or whatever the reason might be, I think that should be as transparent as those issues are in other organisations like the NHS and that, because, you know, it's a lot of the funding for these comes from the public. I was too late for Barcelona. Yeah, and just for me, Lou, the whole Humira thing, like I say, it changed my life. And me being the sort of NHS man I am, I happily signed a bit of paper. So the timescales was essentially, I went to an appointment in about November, December, saying, oh, we're doing this thing of switching over, but you can switch very back. So yep, I'm not even going to question it. As long as I can go back, I'll happily go along with the flow. So then to have an 11-month battle of writing to CCGs and my GPs were telling me, my GPs were like, we can't get anyone into physio at the minute. There are so many people who are having flares because of that switch. And the GPs were telling me it, the biologics nurses were telling me, my rheumatologists were being open about it. And the organisations that should have been fighting my corner were silent. And that annoyed me a lot. Sorry, I'm just catching up, guys. You're so right. So much motivation on restructure. Yeah, the restructure after restructure is just infuriating because it's money that's spent. Like, I still get people in my DMs who don't realise some of the the salaries and stuff, and not realising how it all works. All that stuff has to be paid for. So in my mind, when there are issues, they should be transparent. And in recent years, the sort of thing has been to put like a one-liner tweet with a link to an article that's buried on a website, and going back to what I was saying about the likes and everything, then there'll be no mention of it on Instagram or Facebook, and that's wrong, because a bit like I've got an audience here on Twitch, I've got an audience on Twitter, I've got an audience somewhere else. If something terrible happened with me, I feel like it's my duty that I would have to comment on that to all of my range of audience. So how some of these can get away with a little one-liner on Twitter to a really deeply buried statement on a website, and then nobody on Instagram who are giving up their own time doing videos and story shares, and I don't know. I appreciate this is a potentially controversial subject, Ron, but I think there's no point us raising awareness of our conditions and everything if we're not also looking at ourselves. I just think that seems sensible to me. I must completely agree. Yeah, I agree, and it's like people don't realise, like, a lot of trustees don't get a penny, and then if you're on a really large organisation, you could be six figures for being on the on the board and this sort of stuff, and there should be more, I think, accountability, and yeah, I've got to be careful because I work with a lot of these people quite happily, but I do think nobody should be too big to be scrutinised and transparent, and I say it in my day job a lot. Like, I'm the first person in anything I work in to put my hands up and say when I get it wrong. Like, I over apologise, I worry, and I'll quite happily, if my team at work, we made a mistake, I'll be the first one to say, you know what, we fucked up. We'll get better at that, blah blah blah. So I struggle when other people go out of their way to bury stuff, and I think there's been a lot of that gone on in the pandemic, unfortunately. Whereas really people could just say. So a good one was the issue we had in the UK over getting access to the third vaccine. I had to do a lot of work answering questions, and because there was so much mess over that. People that were on the shielding list, they're not getting offered it. Other people that were not on the shielding list getting access to it. It was one big mess because they kind of switched from it being like done centrally to it being a CCG thing. So it was a bit of a postcode lottery. If your CCG was on the ball, you could get access to it, but a lot of the GPs didn't know that the CCGs were organising it. So you'd ring up your GP and they wouldn't be able to help, and all this sort of stuff. So I had to do loads and loads of stuff on social media, signposts and stuff. And I reached out to a number of organisations saying, this is a real issue. Do you want to do a collaborative thing? And I'm not precious about this stuff. Awareness is awareness. It doesn't matter whose idea it is. It's the same as if, I've put a lot of time and effort in. And obviously if someone come along and do what we're doing here on Twitch and made it 20 times bigger, there'd be a bit of you that'd be a little bit gutted. But you'd be really pleased that there was someone filling that space that you saw, so awareness is awareness. So it's just like a polite, do you want to do something together, because there's clearly an issue here that we're seeing on the ground. Heard nothing, and then 3 weeks later a very, very, very similar campaign to what I suggested surfaced, using very similar word and blah blah blah, and I think that's the bit that I find it really confusing. It's just like, because the pandemic has seen the rise of a lot of like solo patient advocates and people giving up hours of their time to do this sort of thing. it's kind of like we want to share your story, we want to use your experience, we want to use your platform, but when you get to a certain size, we're official. We don't want you, like, I don't know, confusing that message. And that bit I don't get, because there is no single source of truth in this space. We're all just trying to do our best to highlight the issues and get people that need help the help they need. So I don't get why you get sort of gatekeeping with it as well. But sorry, I'm going off on one now. And you do amazing work, Artemis. Don't ever forget that. No matter how dejected you might feel or frustrated at times, you do amazing stuff. Yeah. I'm not a fan of CCGs for a couple of reasons, Amy, which, well, obviously a couple I've mentioned. But, yeah. I'm not saying more than that. And it is, Lou, an additional layer. You know, it just... So they're clinical commissioning group, Renoa. And basically, so like I will have a clinical commissioning group in my region, and they decide, you know, who gets access to certain treatments and where the money goes, and they're kind of a bit of a gatekeeper for, like, you know, for central government, I suppose. But what it does facilitate is that sort of postcode lottery, you know. So I could get access to 4 vaccines and biologics, and Amy down the road, I'm not saying you're down the road, just an example, but happens to be under a different CCG, is completely blocked out. Which is why, with the additional layer of that, I think is why that whole, you can't aim for a single source of truth, you know. So you can't rely on a single organisation or charity to get it right every time and capture it for everyone and support everyone. That's not going to work, because, you know, if they've got really good ties in one region and they're seeing data saying this is happening in this region, but someone's completely dropping the ball in another part of the country, then it makes making these big sweeping statements and guidance really difficult. But yeah, personal opinion, obviously. And like I say, I'm not taking away any of the work that these people do. It's all amazing work, but you've also got to be prepared to accept you're not perfect. You know, that things can go wrong. We're humans. You know, we're human nature. Goalposts move. Yeah, Amy, I've not even got my head around all of those changes yet. And you know that we'll have a general election and it'll get changed again. And, you know, that's hard work. And we're not going to get into politics, but it's like, yeah, and it is scary, Amy. We're not going to get into politics, but it's just like everyone thinking like changing the government, everything's going to fix it all. It's not. It's like, you know, a lot of the issues that we're bound by in our local hospitals and things at the minute, where, you know, we pay for our own in-house maintenance teams, but you have to pay Serco £50 to change a light bulb. That was all done years ago under a totally different watch, you know, but you're completely locked into that. It's such a huge waste of money. But like I say, I have to be careful what I say, because I work in the NHS, so I can't go too far down that route. But anyone that thinks we can change the government and it's all going to get fixed, it's just not. Unfortunately, we are well and truly on a collision course with private healthcare, and it terrifies me. Just terrifies me. Yeah, Maria, I'd say you should be envious, but ask us that again in 20 years' time. Somebody explained it to me. Like how you could only ever have something like the NHS, and I'm not going to say who done it because they're quite high up, but you could only have something like the NHS in complete like peacetime, which is like why the NHS got created when it did after Second World War and everything else, because almost like a society can't free up that much money if you're putting it into war and machinery and defence, and I think with everything that's happening in the world as well, it's just not helping the NHS's cause, because it's kind of like a peacetime utopia that can't be sustained in a more fractured world. I'm really skirting around politics because I don't want us to get sidetracked from the important issues, but But really interesting conversation, guys. So appreciate you guys bringing it up. And like I say, every week I will have a theme, like I have this week around the whole mental health thing. But if you guys want to take that somewhere else, then we will absolutely go there, because this channel's for you guys, and that's what we're doing it for, and it should be shaped by you. So if I duck the odd question, that's purely because for reasons I don't want to get into or get myself in trouble. But I will try, and you know what I'm like by now. I'm as open as anyone, so I'll try to get involved as much as I can. Maria, you're probably right there. And it's important to pick this stuff apart, like I can, like I said to you guys, I work with some of these organisations every day. I love the NHS, I work in the NHS, and I need some of these charities and organisations for the work I do inside and outside of the day job. But just like I said earlier, it doesn't mean that you can't make them godlike, because if not, things go down the pan. You have to ask questions, you have to challenge in everything in life, because it's the only way you keep things improving and hold people to account. And people have taken that the wrong way before. There's one organisation in particular that I don't work with anymore, because they never really fully explained it. Got very upset when I ask questions about something, but I feel like that's my job. I'm a patient voice. It doesn't mean I just sit here and bash doctors all day. There's absolutely nothing to be gained by that, and there are plenty of advocates out there, and that's all they do. But that's looking at a tiny piece of the puzzle. You've got to look at the whole system. Thanks, Lee. Yeah, I'll start doing like Dr. Disrespectful streams or something, and start appearing in total like different outfits and different name. But no, I like to think that holistic kind of view is kind of why everything I've done has kind of led on to bigger and better things, because I just don't. My DMs every day are exhausting sometimes with people just wanting to Dr. Bash, and it's not the answer. You got to understand the pressures, you got to understand the limitations there. Same as I could have been really angry at my rheumatologist for the whole biosimilar switch, but I knew that his hands were completely tied because of the CCG element. So you got to take the time to understand the situation, I think. Awesome question, Amy. Love that. Feel free to get involved with that, guys. Oh, Amy, I totally forgot. You said on Thursday as well it was your birthday at the weekend. Sorry, I did pre-warn you though that I can't remember any of that stuff. That's like my dad's birthday's next week, and the other day I had to check what day it was. I'm just terrible with remembering that stuff. So massive happy birthday, and sorry I didn't ask sooner, and sorry I didn't acknowledge it on Discord. I did try to pre-warn you last week that would happen. I had someone get really offended with me once in my day job, like because I say I manage people, and I can't believe you didn't. I can't remember my own family's birthday, let alone remember other people's. I'm just terrible at that. Thanks for sharing, Artemis. Appreciate it. And if you ever want to be a guest one day, like buttering up Amy too, then drop me a private message. I'm always looking for either guests to have here on the Chronic Pain Club, or if you're not happy being on screen, a podcast episode. Because I think the more I've not had anyone for a fibro interview yet, and I know I would learn a lot from it. But no pressure. I realise I'm putting you on the spot. But I know you do other awesome work, so if you ever want to share that, please let me know. Yeah, everyone seems to be born in May. I don't know what that's about. Like I've got sort of like nans and granddads that are sadly no longer with us, but when I was a kid, we used to have 4 family birthdays next week. Yeah, and like we say, guys, only share what you're willing to share. You know, I keep it as safe as I can, but it is obviously important to remember that the recording of this will go up on Twitch for a couple of weeks afterwards. I've started exporting the videos which chat doesn't carry over onto YouTube, because obviously Twitch is quite strict and deletes recordings after 2 weeks, which is why I encourage you guys to clip anything you think it might be particularly useful, because then I can reuse the clips on Instagram and everything else. But yeah, just remember, obviously, we're doing this live, but the content could go elsewhere, so yeah, please only ever share what you're comfortable with, and feel free to hide behind your username as well. I know occasionally I'll sort of indicate that I know people and that, but if I ever stray too much to being identifiable sort of stuff, then please give me a slap on the wrist. I used to do that with one of my friends when I first started streaming. There'd literally be me and my mate in the stream and nobody else. And the amount of times I accidentally called them by their real name. They weren't fussed by it, but I am conscious of it because we talk about sort of quite personal stuff. So yeah, please hold, as we're on that topic, hold me to account when necessary. Entropathic arthritis, that doesn't come up very often, Lou. Do you want to tell us a bit more about that, just for educational purposes? That is one that just doesn't, I don't get the opportunity to ask about very often. It doesn't come up so often. Thank you, Artemis. Really appreciate it. Yeah, drop me a DM on Twitter or something. Like I said earlier in the stream, I don't know how many of the people I've got in my waiting list would be able to do a Sunday night, let alone how many of them would be comfortable doing it on stream. So there might be an opportunity to get that sorted out quite quickly. You know, because if people aren't comfortable, I don't want to do anything they're not comfortable with. So there will be a few podcasts that are recorded old style, like audio only on Zoom offline. Yeah, thanks for sharing, guys, and thanks for asking the questions, Amy. Because like I say, this slot on a Sunday night is nothing. If it's just me talk, I've got limited experience. I can only tell my bit of the puzzle, but it's nothing without you guys. So I really appreciate you guys getting involved and sharing. Does there tend to be a pattern with that, Lou, in terms of like diagnosis and onset, or does it sort of, is it one before the other at the same time, random? I'll say I don't know enough about it, so that's why I'm asking. It's one of them things that EA will come up in the odd focus group or something, but they're not the places to quiz because we're supposed to be answering the questions. So yeah, it's just out of interest. Thank you, appreciate you sharing that. But just a reminder, guys, we've got lots of people who drop in and out of streams. It's not like a YouTube video where someone might watch the whole thing, so we have to appreciate that people drop in and out. So if for you, those of you that are kind enough to hang around all night, apologies if you hear me repeat myself a few times. But anyone that is new here, don't forget to hit the follow button. We stream on Tuesday nights and Sunday nights. Tuesday night is an Animal Crossing stream for a project we're working with IFPA to raise awareness of psoriatic disease around the game Animal Crossing, just to be a bit of a talking point and everything else. And on Sunday nights, where you are here, is the Chronic Pain Club, which is a just chat showy kind of stream, which will sometimes have some guests, where we talk about all things chronic illness, invisible disability and pain. But we also try to fit in one or two other streams across the week, all depending on my health and pain levels and everything else, energy more than anything. Tend to be on a Wednesday or a Thursday night, so if you're hitting the follow button, you'll get those notifications, you'll know when I'm going live. Yeah, that'd be much appreciated. And if you like what you see here and want to get involved further, you can head over to our Discord server. Link us there in chat, where we talk about the channel, plans for it, events, ideas. So at the minute we've got some chat going on about doing a different sort of game involving some of you guys involved, and having a bit of fun with that. Giveaways, and also, you know, in time, it'd be nice if we can carry these conversations on in Discord, so that you guys feel like you've got like a permanent safe space chat room to support each other. So yeah, head over there if you haven't already. You don't have to be a subscriber or anything like that. Everyone's absolutely welcome. I know there's lots of streamers that make their Discord sub only as a bit of an incentive. I have no intention of doing that, because ultimately I'm trying to facilitate conversation on this channel. If you choose to spend a few pennies to support it, that's up to you, but I don't think there should be any walls stopping people from accessing the support or the community we build around it. Thank you, Maria. And just thank you as well for not only checking us out, but taking the time to sub and get involved. Like that's amazing. Same for you, Lou. For people who just come here and on day one sub, that means the world to me. And it kind of reaffirms what I'm doing. The regulars in stream, your Snuffles and Renoas and Madacast and everything will know well and truly that I am my own worst critic. I doubt what I'm doing constantly, so it's just a little thing. But new people coming over, people like yourself, Lou, who are not new to Twitch, it kind of it's like it's almost my list for the week when I feel like quitting to remind myself why I'm doing it and that there is a place for it here. So yeah, thank you. I'm not creating it, Amy. You guys are. I'm just turning up and hitting the go live button. The fact, it's you guys that are making this and making it such a welcoming place as well. Because I think sometimes, like with the Animal Crossing bit, some people are gonna, because of the way Twitch categorises stuff, people are gonna go there to watch an Animal Crossing stream. So then when they find me talking about this sort of thing, I think people are either going to entertain it and give it some time, or they're going to move on. So I think everything we do here helps all the other sort of things we're trying to do with the channel, because ultimately the more people that are talking, the more welcoming it is, the more likely that passerby is going to just sit and listen and might learn something in 10 minutes. So yeah, it's awesome. Yeah, you are, Snuffle, definitely. Cheers, Malika. And I never would. I'm too passionate about all this. I wouldn't do all the stuff I do all week otherwise. But it is that self-doubt, and I think the way my brain tends to work, and whether that's because of chronic illness thing and tending to sort of be over harsh on myself, is sort of like I can literally go from here to here really quickly, and sometimes it can be completely pain related. And we've talked earlier in the stream about depression and the mental health impact of our conditions, and it definitely feeds that. Say I have, I don't know, one stream where I have a technical issue, or I do an Instagram post that it just misses the mark, or maybe someone's really critical with a comment, and I think because a lot of what I do, it's all in my free time and everything, you're doing it for good reasons, and every now and then something doesn't land or people misinterpret it or whatever, and I can literally go from like buzzing to like I'm the worst human being in the world, and I think, like I say, pain does definitely play a part in that, and people don't talk about that enough. That how it can it distorts your perception, and for anyone that's gone through pain management therapy will know about that is that perception shift, and a lot of it is work, and it's not about taking more painkillers, it's not about necessarily moving more, even though they do encourage all of that. It's about there are multiple ways to view a situation, and sometimes we get into a bit of a rut where we only see the bad stuff because we're suffering, and sometimes lose sight of the good in that, and I'm constantly having to remind myself of that stuff. Yeah, it's important to remember that, Lou, I think. And also just like willing to engage in the conversation, because I think it's like the easy option, like I talked about right at the start of the stream, is when I'm having a bad week, is to do nothing, to just disconnect, not stream, not put stuff on social media, cancel meetings, and just hide almost. And it's kind of like human nature. So I think the fact that you guys are turning up and in your free time and on your Sunday night contributing to the conversation, supporting each other, but more importantly as well, raising awareness for people that aren't, like Selby said right at the start, he's going to lurk away. He doesn't have arthritis, he doesn't have any sort of chronic illnesses or anything, but the fact that someone's lurking away there and learning from all this, and you guys are willing to confront your challenges and talk about it and educate, you need to give yourselves a lot of credit for that as well. Thank you, Amy, our resident OT. Appreciate it. And I must admit, yeah, if my pain management team were ever watching this stream, they would go nuts for me not having my they call them stretch snacks or stretch bites or whatever. They would go nuts for me not doing that every 30 minutes. Right, but yeah, cheers for everyone getting involved in the chat. Like, if we haven't, if we haven't unlocked the extra VIP badges tonight, I don't think we're ever going to. It's been awesome having so many people, and we had so many people passing by. Like, there's sort of two different numbers sort of Twitch gives you, and they always lag a bit when you're streaming, so you can never pin it down to what bits of people are interested in, which is really frustrating. But obviously, you have your view account, which most of you guys will be able to see. But you also have people in chat, which tend to be the people that have got like it running on a browser in the background, or maybe they've got just the chat window open and not the video. The people in chat is huge, right? Like for this channel, a ridiculous amount of people. So thank you again. Like I try to say it every stream, but for those of you that aren't ready to share, not comfortable sharing, that's absolutely fine, or who just want to learn and listen, like Selby said earlier, that are just hanging out in the background, I really appreciate it. And like I tend to say every stream, it helps. Nobody needs to cheer, sub, that stuff helps the channel financially, but if you're just lurking away in the background, it's all telling Twitch that the snowball effect is growing here, I guess. So we started properly in January. We were affiliate by February, but even back when we got affiliate in February, we only had an average of 3 viewers, and now we're getting sort of almost double figures, and that's an average. That takes a lot. There aren't many people still around in that first couple of minutes. There aren't many people hanging around at the end when you're running the outro screen or raiding or whatever. So to get these sort of numbers for something so niche, when we're talking about something so specific on a platform that tends to be about computer games, I think it's huge, and just kind of validates everything we're doing. And I suppose all the Snuffle's ridiculous overconfidence about this channel, because I must admit, I thought you were crazy a month ago, Snuffle, with some of the claims you were making. But the fact we've got new people jumping in tonight, sub and everything, it's just mad. No worries, Lou. Again, thank you ever so much for signing up to Twitch for the first time to be here, for going through all the effort of the mobile phone verification, for subscribing in your first ever trip to Twitch. That nearly came out completely wrong. Just amazing. So really appreciate it. I hope you've enjoyed it. Your contributions have been massive, and yet we're here every Sunday night for this conversation. And if you want to check out our Animal Crossing stream on a Tuesday, we're here from the same time, 7 o'clock. But as you're subbed and following everything, you'll get your notifications. So really appreciate it. Have a good evening, and I hope your long weekend and next week is kind to you. So guys, anything else we want to cover? We're now about to hit 9 o'clock. I normally keep this one going until about 9:30. If it was really going mad, we'd go a bit longer. But if is there any other topics you want to cover? No worries, Malakath. I appreciate it's a bit later where you guys are, and yeah, thank you for hanging out on a Sunday night. I really appreciate it. Means a lot, and just lurking away, like I say, helps. So you never have to apologise for that, or when you guys have to dip in and dip out. Really appreciate it. Anytime you can give. So I suppose the last question I kind of wanted to pose to the room, guys, is like, what would if you were in my position for sort of like the week ahead? So it started off as a high pain week. I lost my ability to cope with it, I guess. And then it became a mental health issue. And like I say, I ended up having to log off very quickly on Friday because I was basically just crying my eyes out uncontrollably, feeling useless and everything. So I suppose normally when I'm in this position, but I'm not always the best person to give advice to myself. I'm normally quite good at giving advice to others, not to myself. So there's sort of them two approaches, isn't it? The longer you're off, the more the weight and the worry and the getting behind and the catching up and how many emails you've got and everything builds up in your head. Or the other approach is, so you want to like go steaming in and just get it over with and bite the bullet. Or the other approach, which is what your pain management and everything tends to tell you, is to take it steadier, not go 100 mile an hour and everything else. So I think now I'm at the point where the pain is back under control and it's very much a mental health issue. What do you guys tend to do, like in them, when it's more depression, low mood, lack of sleep, fatigue, rather than the sort of disease itself, I suppose? Just interesting how you guys handle it. Oh. I'm on the water. My tea is gone now, so I must have been talking a lot. And for anyone that doesn't know how it on Twitch, they are owned by Amazon, which does mean you can subscribe to a channel of your choice once a month, completely free if you've got a Prime subscription with Amazon. So if you want to support the channel in that way, then the link is there for how you do that. It's nice and easy. So Amy, take everything steady, take little words, just have a chat. Yeah, that's a really good point, because I said earlier, didn't I, that I tend to just stop doing everything. So the fact I've turned up tonight, like not being funny, at 4 o'clock, I'm sitting in the chair, I felt flat, I had no energy. I think this is where you guys help me massively. Like, I talk about all the stuff I'm trying to do to help, but this is where you guys help me, because you only have to go back 6-8 weeks where there's maybe a couple of people coming to the streams. It was so easy for me to just, you know what, I'll just can it tonight. And I think it's where, like, my advocacy stuff is kind of self-fueling, because the more support it gets, the more it helps me. Because and I get the odd message where people go, oh, don't do too much, but what people don't realise is that when you are suffering with the low mood depression side of things, the instinct is to stop doing everything, and that isn't what's best for you. It's knowing what is best, isn't it? You know, knowing that, you know, having that shitty conversation at work is maybe something that isn't a good idea, but getting out and doing a bit of gardening, getting out in the world or whatever, is a good one. And I know what that's like, Snuffle. That's exactly what that's exactly how I was last week. And it isn't healthy, though. The important thing is, you know, that that's not always the healthiest approach. And as always, guys, with this, because we do talk about sensitive stuff, if anyone wants help signposting after this, I'm not a medical professional. I don't claim to be. I just talk about my experiences and the experiences of others to try and give a voice to people. But if anything comes up on these conversations and you're feeling like you could use some support afterwards, then please drop me a private message and I can signpost you. I can't claim to fix anything, and I never will. But the least I could do is try and point you in the direction of help. And yeah, Amy's spot on with that, taking the little wins. It really is. So, like, for me, it's like, I know that writing is really therapeutic for me, like it is for a lot of people. But I get into this weird mindset where if I'm off work, well, I can't write anything. But how I work is I can't write it and keep it to myself. It only kind of works therapeutically for me if I share it. And I think that kind of feeds into that whole wanting to help and wanting to do good and blah, blah, blah. But I get into this like mindset, oh, you can't publish that. How could you put that on Facebook or something because you're not at work? But that's bullshit, you know. And by me not doing it, actively delays my recovery. But that took me a long while and a lot of CBT and pain management to understand that and to override it. Yeah, and Artemis, social media detox, definitely. So when I talk about switching off, I think it's more that I'll switch off the social media side because I think that's healthy for me. But knowing not to switch off all the stuff I do that I enjoy, i.e. picking up a guitar or writing or, you know, that sort of thing. The same reason why I've done this on Thursday night, wasn't it? I delayed it on Tuesday, we done it on Thursday night, but every bone in my body was saying, you can't stream, you're not fit to work, blah, blah, blah. But for me, it's like a social thing. It's talking to somebody. If not, it'd be an entire week where I wouldn't socialise, especially in the current environment where I'm not really going out much. Yeah, little wins are really important. Yeah, and I'm the biggest hypocrite, Amy. The amount of people I'll reply to in DMs or whatever, and then I realise you literally didn't do that last week, Joel. But I think it's also understanding what you do and why. Like, for a lot of times, for a long while, I didn't realise that writing was part of my coping mechanism. I just thought I'd done it because either I was good at it or raising awareness, but I didn't understand how important that was to me. And then just like almost like posting it out to the world because it's gone, if that makes sense. So writing it in a notebook almost doesn't process it for me. It takes it out of my head, but it doesn't like send it off message in a bottle kind of thing. So like even on those really bad days where I'm really conscious and think, oh, I can't be seen to be doing anything, sometimes I'll just stick it up on a website or a forum or somewhere and just not tell anyone I've done it, because like for me I had to understand that it kind of had to go out into the world, if that makes sense. Hi Big Bad Fox, first time chatter guys, say hello to Big Bad Fox. Thank you for getting involved and saying hello, really appreciate it. If I don't know if you've been hanging around for a while. If you haven't, we're here on Tuesdays and Sunday evenings from 7 o'clock UK time. Tuesday night is an Animal Crossing sort of chilled awarenessy kind of stream. Tonight is more the just chat and stream where we cover all the big topics and very much ask you guys to get involved. So if you haven't already, hit the follow button, because that also tells you when I'm online, because I do Tuesday and Sunday, but I have a chronic illness like many of the people here. That has to be a bit fluid. So if you hit the follow button, then you know when I'm going live and get that notification. But yeah, and we also have a really active, quickly growing Discord server. Anyone can join that. You don't have to be subbed or anything. Thank you for the follow. Big bad, appreciate it. Like I say, you'll just know when I go live. And it also helps, tell Twitch things about how awesome we are. But yeah, if you want to head over to Discord as well, lots of chat in there, from everything from game and off-topic chat to things we're going to do with the channel, events, taking your ideas, and yeah, really appreciate it. Yeah, the flare box Artemis is something I first heard about in pain management therapy as well. They called it a first aid box, or a first aid sort of like pain emergency box, or there was lots of different spins on it. But yeah, so they said like a like your favourite chocolate bar, if people don't listen to CDs anymore, but maybe a post-it note with that album or record you go back to, if you're into sort of like knitting or whatever that might be, and then like, but also medical side of things. So like your heat pack, your favourite hand cream or whatever. So yeah, that's a really good idea, and it is something that isn't talked about enough. I'm trying to think, they had a much better sort of, I said first aid box. It wasn't a first aid box. They had a proper witty title for it, and I can't remember what it was, but it was a really good idea. And they said like you just have it under your bed, and for those days where it really gets too much, you reach for it, knowing that you've got a couple of your favourite things, but also a couple of things that are going to help you. But yeah, they're a really good idea. I feel like we should do a post about that, Artemis. I don't see anyone really. It's a bit like I do the whole coloured wristband things you guys might have seen online, like that whole, if I'm wearing purple today, I'm really struggling mentally, and then I have like a traffic light, red, amber, green, because I don't want to have that conversation every day with my family about how much it hurts. I don't think that helps. It doesn't help me, and it only makes me feel like more of a burden. But also, I don't want pain to be the first thing that my son thinks of when he looks at me and all this sort of thing. So by having a little wristband, some people do like a coded system on their fridge, on a magnet or whatever. I think that's a really good way of saying, right, this is the place I'm at, but you don't need to ask, but just so you know, sort of thing. But yeah, cheers for getting involved, Big Bad Fox. Really appreciate it. We're obviously very niche what we do here, and it's going to take time for people to find us, but the last couple of weeks everything's just blown up on the channel. So and every follow, every new person saying hello, it really helps tell the algorithms or whatever else what we're doing over here. And hopefully, because there's millions of people on Twitch here to play computer games and watch computer games, a massive proportion of those will have invisible illness or chronic illnesses, and so yeah, it helps people find us, so I really appreciate it. The Memory Palace, that one rings a bell. Can't say I've used it myself. I do the whole passenger on the bus analogy thing, where I work out what things are within my control and what ones are not, and then trying to sort of focus your worries on the stuff you can control. Yeah, that sounds awesome, Artemis. That sounds exactly what you should have in one of those boxes. Yeah, and that is compartmentalising is exactly the right word there, big bag. It's like to say with the passengers on the bus analogy. It's that kind of trying to understand, not just to explain it to other people, but understand it yourself. Because let's be honest, we sometimes get a bit lost in our own pain and struggle and everything. And it's kind of sort of like saying, the way I use it to explain it to people as well, where I'll say like, well, if I've got 4 people on my bus, I can manage that and I can go around a tight corner and everything else. But if I have 10 people turn up all at the same time, then that's when I can't cope. So a lot of things I've been saying this week, it's like my pain hasn't changed. And I was saying that to my employer. My pain has not got worse. My ability to cope with it has changed, you know. And that is, once you start getting your head around that sort of thing, and a big part of like the pain management stuff for me was forgetting the idea of a magic bullet, because I think I fell into a trap like a lot of people that think there was just this big fix for it. And I think because I went, like we were talking about earlier, Amy, with the first big remission and everything else, I think remissions, especially if you're early on in your arthritis journey, lure you into this false sense of there's a fix, and there isn't. There's only management, and it sounds harsh to say it. And for a lot of years, I didn't want to hear that. But I think once you think, right, okay, no one's coming to just give me a magic pill that gets rid of all of this, I think you can then start using your mind a lot more to manage the situation. But people don't want to hear that, because people want to, you know, say we're conditioned to think that you can fix things. And just catching up on chat. Yeah, the worry tree's a good one, Amy. Another one I was taught is about the whole leaf on streams, where you just like, so when you're really struggling, whether it's with pain or the worry of it itself, is you imagine a stream and your issues are a leaf that are passing under you on this stream or under your nose, and it's kind of like practicing letting it go. And it does work. Like, you know, you go and have to go back 10 years ago and I was a very typical British male with these things, and I wouldn't really entertain some of these ideas. And I think, yeah, once you realise that how much your mind is contributing to your struggles, that once you start using some of those wellness techniques and that, it really does help. Yeah, and Artemis, I'm the same with gaming. I think it's just that suspended reality, throwing yourself into another world, you know what I mean? So like, I find when my pain is high, I won't play games that make me stressed. You know, like I play a lot of Football Manager, but I'd never play Football Manager when I'm in pain, because why would I want to basically do a game that's a job? So, and it's the same as like conflicty games I won't play when I'm struggling mentally. I'll tend to throw myself into more sort of like RPG stuff where I can be somebody else for a little while, you know. It's the same as watching movies, isn't it, where you lose yourself a little bit in it. Yeah, or the remission is the aim. I think it's better to use terms, Amy, like, you know, desired outcome rather than an absolute fact, because I think that's where, you know, for a lot of time through my childhood, I was led to believe that there was a fix until there wasn't, and then I wasn't mentally prepared for that. So I think it's important for people to say that this is like the desired outcome, but it's not the end goal, like in terms of it is a point we're going to arrive at, because for some people that isn't ever a point that they arrive at. Yeah, that's awesome, by the way, Big Bad Fox, that you've got things that work for you, because some people spend a lifetime searching. Like, I'm still adding to my toolkit, if you want to call it that. But for a lot of years, I didn't have any of those things in my pocket. So it's awesome that you've found things that work for you, because everyone is different. And that is the important thing to remember, guys, if you're watching this, thinking like, I've just not, you know, I just want more painkillers, I haven't entertained any of this stuff. Everyone's different, but I'd encourage you to explore it and give it some time. It doesn't work straight away for a lot of these things, and you have to be willing. You know, if you go into, well, this ain't going to work for me, then it's not going to work for you. You know, you've got to put the effort in. Yeah, it's true, Amy. And I think doctors overlook that. So, like, I've got to give a talk in June. I'm hoping I'm going to be able to announce hers for soon, but until they promote it, I can't. and I'm excited. I'm also terrified. I've spent the last 2 years doing this sort of stuff behind a screen rather than in person. But one of the things I want to get across, because it's going to be to a room full of doctors, which is intimidating, is getting across that, what you say matters, because we hold on to it. And I'm sure you can, Amy. I can remember specific things that doctors told me when I was a kid. I've already mentioned a couple to tonight with like the whole army fighting itself kind of analogies and stuff. This stuff sticks with you, and trying to get people to understand that what you say matters, and it also matters by how we package up our situation and perceive our situation as well. Yeah, it's a brutal thing, and for a lot of people, Snuffle, that isn't what you want to think about, especially in the first few years, especially when you've got people like with AS waiting 7-8 years for diagnosis and everything. Why would you, after waiting 7-8 years for a diagnosis, then want to think like there is no fix? I totally get why you'd want to hold on to that, and I did for as long as I could. But what I would say is, I think once you get over that hurdle, it makes managing day to day a lot easier, because up until that point you're just waiting the next 6 months or a year for your next rheumatology appointment, or you're waiting for that next treatment change, or you're waiting for that next whatever that might be, and everything ends in a disappointment. I think many of us have probably been there, where you wait months and months and months to see your rheumatology, and after 50 right rheumatologists, you come out 15 minutes later feeling deflated. and that isn't a healthy way to live. But that's because you're pinning all your hopes. And I done it a couple of years ago. I was sharing my story a lot about, I was going through a lot of neuro symptoms, and I still have them now. But I slipped right back into that place where I thought every neuro appointment, every brain scan, every whatever would have an answer, and then I was just like devastated when I got no answers. And then it was kind of like this reminder how I used to approach my arthritis, and how much easier life is now. I don't go into those appointments like that. And now I put my energy into telling them what the impact is and how it affects me, and advocating for myself, rather than just sitting there silent, expecting the doctor to have all the answers, because they don't. Yeah, that's a good one as well. You're already contributing so much, Big Bad Fox. You jumped straight in here and you're sharing all these tips and mechanisms you have. I really appreciate it. So yeah, we're back on Sunday night for this particular chat. So obviously you dropped in quite, towards the end of this one. We will put the VOD on the channel if you want to go back and watch anything we talked about earlier. That'll be on there for a couple of weeks, and if not, I export it onto our YouTube channel, which will be on there much longer. For anyone who's interested in my other links, they're there in chat. But if not, yeah, check us out again next Sunday night, where we'll be doing this again. And like I said earlier in the stream, guys, I'll try and put a theme on the title so that it avoids any silences and people's expectations and everything. But like we've done tonight, we can literally just go off in any direction that you guys feel is appropriate. And going forward, I'll try to get it so maybe every other one of these we have a guest as well, because that will I think that'll be good for you guys to hear a different voice, as well. Yeah, that one, Big Bad, is very similar to that leaf on a stream one that I use. And that's just a mindfulness technique. That's just literally putting on some... I normally put this like Spotify playlist where you can listen to water and stuff like that. And then basically just picture each one of your issues. And also it helps you understand which ones you can let go. Because I like to say I'm a serial worrier. I'm a massive worrier. And I think my arthritis played a part in that, because... you can't predict a lot of you can't predict what you're going to be like tomorrow, let alone. So like tonight, my wife's at work tomorrow. I'm already worrying, how do I get through the day? Dylan's been a bit of a handful at the minute. I'm going to be sore because it's a long weekend, so it's an extra day where I'm having to be in dad mode rather than working. And you could be up all night worrying about that if you didn't have a way of compartmentalising it and moving it on. No worries, Renoa. I'm not on for much longer myself. I've only got about 10 more minutes left. So thank you for sitting and listening and participating. I really appreciate it. And yeah, just this is awesome, isn't it? I remember you being on stream a couple of months back where I said, I'd love to get to this point where we can just spend the entire stream chatting about these things. and it never seemed possible. So it was awesome. So thanks for hanging around and watching all these to see us get to this point. And thanks for being a part of it as well. Yeah, that's a good one. Have you written a book, Big Bad Fox, or do you read a lot of books on these things? Because you've got some very useful one-liners. We've got our resident channel OT. We might have our new resident channel quote person. Yeah, it's good. It shows. It shows. Alright guys, is there anything else you want to pick up before we wrap it up for tonight? Because this has been awesome, but my voice is now feeling that after talking for nearly 2.5 hours. And like I say, we'll try and line up a guest soon. Thank you for those guys in chat that have succumbed to my very unsubtle hints and are happy to be involved as well. Yeah, Snuffle's definitely our number one optimist, if nothing else. It's like, I must admit, what they were saying was just ridiculous a couple of weeks ago, and then literally it seems to have put some sort of good luck charm. Maybe it's you visiting that shrine in the woods every day, Snuffle, but since you've started doing that and your supreme overconfidence for what we could achieve with this channel, people have just appeared out of the woodwork. So yeah, I really appreciate it. I need a daily dose of Snuffle optimism. It is appreciated as much as I make fun of it. My wife was the same. You know, she's always saying I expect things to happen instantly, and it is hard for people that haven't done stuff like this on Twitch. You're putting yourself out there and you're sharing quite personal stuff, and you're on camera, and the potential for things to go very wrong, especially in the early days, is a lot higher than the potential of things to go right. And in them early streams, you are sort of talking to yourself a lot. And, you know, when I was doing the 2 Point Hospital streams, and, you know, it was fun, but really I just want to be talking about the awareness stuff. So the fact that we can do that and sustain that for a couple of hours now, and have new people follow, people sub, and, you know, to get a couple of subs from first-time followers on this stream is mad. And to be constantly having double-figure viewers when we're talking about such specific niche stuff that in some corners of Twitch is sort of foreign to people. It's just awesome. Yeah, I forget you were there at the start, Snuffle. I really do. When everything used to go terribly wrong. It probably wasn't a good look, was it? There's me trying to sneak in talk about chronic illness and advocacy whilst mass murdering thousands of people in game because I completely took my eye off the hospital management element of the stream. It always felt really weird for me to be cracking jokes about what was happening in game as well. Especially when things would get really bad and we had to kick all the patients out because it was better if they died on the street than in my hospital. Like, looking back, it probably wasn't the best thing to stream whilst I was trying to crowbar chronic illness chat. But like I say, that's what makes this awesome now, guys. The fact that the chronic illness chat is sustaining itself, and that is only because of you guys being involved. I really appreciate it, like, massively. Right, I'm probably going to leave it there, guys, now, because like I say, my voice is getting tired. I've just had a little look. There's nobody I trust on. Like I say, I'm trying to build up a selection of fellow streamers who I've checked out, spent hours viewing, and know that they're safe people to direct you to, because the last thing I want to do is we talk about some really personal, open stuff here, and then I send you over to a stream that's going to, you know, cause harm. So a lot of these chronic illness ones will probably not end in a raid for that reason. It just feels like a sensible thing. Thank you, Amy. Thank you for it. You know, I'm not going to... It's got to the point now where I can't list everyone. I used to say at the end of the stream, oh, thank you, Amy and Renee and Snuffle. But it's just... There's so many of you guys coming back every single night for this now when we stream. And for anyone that is new, please hit the follow button if you haven't done so already. I stream on Tuesday and Sunday evenings, plus the odd one or two in between that. It really helps, not only for you to get notification when we go live, but also to tell Twitch that what we're doing here is growing, and my word, it is growing like it's just mad. So thank you so much, guys, for participating, for proving that this works, for providing, you know, proving that there is a appetite for this, and I'm pretty sure we're probably the only people on a Sunday night in the entire whole of Twitch talking about arthritis and pain. So as a dedicated stream, so that feels pretty bloody awesome. So if you haven't already, guys, there's a link there for Discord. Get involved, join the conversation. Even when I'm not online, it's open to anyone. You don't have to be a subscriber or anything. If you do want to support the channel, then feel free to subscribe. It helps massively financially, but know that just your viewership is enough, genuinely. And if you want to find anything else that I do, you can find a link there to my link tree with all my socials, Facebook support group, social media, t-shirt company that we run to raise awareness of chronic pain, etc, etc. I'm going to leave you all there. I'm genuinely honoured to have the company of so many of you on here in the UK, a long bank holiday weekend. It's a Sunday night. Time is precious. Thank you for getting involved. I hope somebody learnt something from it. I hope you guys feel a little more seen and supported. And this is actually turning into something awesome. So thank you. And I actually have confidence in my own channel now, and that's thanks to you guys, and proven that my original idea has legs. So amazing. And yeah, I will try and get another arthritis fact for you, Amy, like the MAB one for next time. Have a great evening all, guys. You're amazing people, and thank you for making my dream come true with what we're doing with the channel right now. It means the world. I'm going to stop gushing now, and I'm going to go. Have a good evening. Have a great bank holiday Monday if that applies to you here in the UK. If not, have a good work week, and see you all later, guys. Bye bye.